Welcome everyone to the Daily Fantasy MLB Show, sponsored by Fantasy Elite. All right, welcome everyone. Sponsored by Fantasy Elite. Music was really loud there, Dave. With us today, we have Dan Gasper and Derek Carty on a 10-game Monday. So basically, before we start, my Elite game Dan has already got the edge on me with sniping Trout when it was my pick, but we won't get into that. I'll still win.
It worked for you on Friday.
It did work for me on Friday and a couple days before. Anyway, what's going on with you guys today?
Not a whole lot.
No, not much.
You guys are so lively. It's beautiful.
We're both hot. It
nice.
Sounds like Derek's got it worse than me, though.
Yeah,
Nice.
I'm in a blistering inferno, so if I'm a little lackadaisical, that's why.
Well, that's a perfect segue into the first segment. When you're looking at weather, Dan, do you see anything that stands out today? Any worries?
It looks like things are mostly clearing up. I know we had some potential issues, but I think it looks like things are mostly clearing up. It looks like you might get a little weather in Baltimore. When I refresh, that's coming in. But nothing that would really affect any of your hitters there. And you're not really targeting any pitchers in that game anyways. So I don't think there's anything really to be concerned about tonight.
Yeah, and they're gonna get that game in. They're 35% chance and 45% chance, but then after that, it's all good.
Yeah. And it looks like St. Louis, which was probably the biggest threat earlier, is cleared up. So that's a good thing. Derek, are you anything like Davis, where if it's any more than a 10% chance, you're calling it quits?
That is totally Davis, too.
No, I'm not too worried when it's like 30% or whatever. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, usually you get screwed more often when you don't play them than when you do. But moving on to the pitchers, looking at Vegas favorites for pitchers today, who stands out, Derek? Anybody that just by looking at the odds that catches your attention?
I haven't actually looked at the odds today. So why don't I pass it over to Tuttle?
Hey, Dan, anyone just by looking at the odds that catches your attention?
Not really that I saw. Nothing that really jumped out, just looking purely at the odds. I didn't find anything weird in the lines, at least. How about yourself?
I think Jesse Chavez is interesting with Oakland at minus 190.
That'd be about the only one. I agree with that.
Yeah, and then you have Seattle at 160, which is actually a little less than you would expect on most days. But I think I would say that both of them are have pretty good odds of winning it. I like both of them too. But aside from Vegas odds, looking at top tier pitchers, there aren't that many of them tonight, Derek. But among them, which ones are you targeting?
I think I'm probably staying away from like the Felix Hernandez set tonight and going for like the second tier Dan Herron, Hiroki Kuroda guys.
That's interesting. Dan, are you the same way?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, you look at Hernandez's last few starts, and it's hard to pinpoint exactly anything on why he's struggled. But you're not getting a great matchup tonight anyways, and his price hasn't deflated. So I'm not saying that what's ever wrong with Felix is, going to be wrong for the rest of the season or it's going to be long lasting. It's just you're not getting a great matchup anyways with a team that is relatively good at taking pitches, walks a decent amount, and doesn't strike out a ton in the Rays. Sure. So I think for the price where Felix is still at, I'm probably avoiding him tonight.
Yeah, I agree there. I think the Rays have a good offense, and just for the price and with the matchup, and it's not worth it for me tonight.
See, I searched high and low to find something wrong with him, and there really wasn't anything, like you said, Dan, that really stood out. Nothing, which is kind of interesting. And he had commented on it that, change up breaking ball. He had issues with them against, I believe it was Oakland last week. Listen, I have a feeling he's going to come back. He's going to bounce back with a big game today. Granted, you're looking at his price, which hasn't deflated the way you'd want it to. But on DraftKings, where there's guys like Clayton Kershaw that are 13,000, I don't see 11.3 as as a really bad price.
Yeah, DraftKings, his price isn't too bad. And like you said, you dig and you don't really find a whole lot. I mean, the biggest thing for him has just been relative lack of control. His season numbers are still good as far as walks per 9. I think it's right around 2, which is pretty solid. But the last few games, it looked like against Oakland, he only had 2. But that doesn't necessarily. You can't just look at walks issued as the only sign of lack of control.
Sure.
He went. A lot of batters took him deep into counts against Oakland, and again, Tampa Bay is kind of a team that can do that to him again.
Yeah, what stood out the most to me was the sub 13% strikeout rating over his last 4 starts. First 4 starts, you're looking at nearly 36%, which was, it's bound to come down, but by, nearly 20% is very notable. Derek, what do you attribute anything to that? I mean, I know you dig real deep into these type of numbers. Do you see anything that stands out to you why Felix might be struggling?
I haven't dug super deep yet, but from what I've looked at, I really haven't found a whole lot to explain it. So, I mean, for right now, I would just chalk it up to, small sample size, don't worry about it, Felix is still really good kind of thing. But tonight, I don't see any reason to go for him. I mean, given that, he has struggled, a little bit, and the matchup isn't very good, and there are alternatives. So that's kind of where I'm at on Felix tonight.
It's fair. The matchup doesn't scare me much. They're an above-average offense, but it's not something that would shy me away from him when he's playing well. The issue is that he hasn't been playing that well, and it does concern me a bit. For what it's worth, in his career, he has been lights out against Tampa. I know most people don't put any stock in that, but I'm talking like a sub 1.5 ERA, over 60-plus innings. So it's worth looking at. But so we're not on the top tier, guys. Chavez is, I'd say he's mid-range, but GPP options, what are you looking at in terms of them? Maybe mid-range or punt plays or guys that are completely under the radar?
I
Dan,
think. Okay, yeah, Dan. Okay, go ahead.
or anybody.
The guy that steps out, and I'm sure I'm taking Derek's here. The big one that would step out would be Colby Lewis, just because of matchup. And he's not he's an average pitcher. I wouldn't give him any more credit than that. But just based on matchup alone, I think Colby Lewis, for his price, is a pretty solid GPP option. Gives you, solid. He's got a solid K rate. Gives you solid strikeout potential. He should get this run support needed to get the win. So if you can just get 5 or 6 innings out of him, I don't think he's actually even went past 6 innings yet this year. But if he's able to get you to that 6th inning, I think he provides a good option for you tonight.
Got a great Derek.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I kind of feel like there's I don't know. I think my cash game plays are definitely going to be Herron and Kuroda, and I think I may just play them in GPPs too. But I think in terms of more overlooked guys, kind of cheaper, under the radar guys, Colby Lewis is definitely one of them. I like Lewis. The matchup tonight is good. I think Tyler Lyons has a solid matchup as a GPP play tonight. And as a super contrarian under the radar, I think Gavin Floyd. I mean, there's definitely blow up risk there, but I don't know. I'm a Floyd fan, and I think the matchup is decent enough tonight where I could see gambling, in a GPP.
Sure.
I want Derek to give me, because I don't know a ton about him. I want a mini scouting report on Tyler Lyons, because I hear a lot of people throwing his name out for tonight.
Yeah, well, obviously tonight it's because he's at home against the Cubs, so right away, it's an intriguing matchup. Lyons doesn't have, great stuff. He has below average velocity, but he's got 4 different pitches. He mixes them pretty well. His secondary stuff is enough to keep hitters off balance, probably strike out, a league average number of batters, and that comes with good control. So, he's not going to set the world on fire. He's not ever going to turn into anything more than, a number 3 starter at the very, very best. But he's a decent enough pitcher given the matchup tonight where I could see, trotting him out there.
So Tyler Lyons, I had Tyler Lyons and Colby Lewis both in the article today, and both of them, I think it has a lot to do with matchup, obviously, especially on a kind of slow night in terms of high-end pitching. But what is it about Kuroda that sticks out at you, Derek? Because to me, he's been all right. He's been mediocre, and he has potential in a good matchup tonight. But you have it at Yankee Stadium. He hasn't been going deep in the games. They're talking about limiting his pitch count. What is it that makes you like him at a mid-range cost?
I think a lot of it is the matchup. I mean, you don't get much worse offenses than the Mets. The Mets are going to have to. They're coming from the National League, so they're going to have to scramble and find someone to play as their DH. Do we have? Yeah, I mean, Bobby Abreu it looks like the extra hitter in that lineup tonight. So I mean, it's you might as well be facing a pitcher. And the offense itself is just pretty terrible. Brian McCann's in the lineup tonight, so Kuroda's going to be thrown to him. He's an awesome pitch framer. He gets the home field advantage. His peripherals are pretty much exactly in line with what he's been doing in the past. So I see no reason to shy away from Kuroda. I think the exact opposite, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's becoming the more I looked before the show started, he was kind of creeping his way as to my cash game option for the night.
And in his defense, his last 2 starts have been nice, and he's actually, I think he's gone, 6 and then 7 and 2 thirds. So you're looking at 2 decent starts and then 7 strikeouts and 8.
Yep.
And he's throwing 94 and then 108 pitches. So it does alleviate some of the concern that you would have seen earlier in the season when he was struggling. One other name that I saw that popped up a couple times that I'm not big on tonight. Maybe you are, but Jordan Zimmerman, Dan. What's your take on this guy? Because he's been pretty mediocre to begin the season.
Yeah, I mean he just doesn't. He doesn't have a favorable matchup tonight. I mean the Diamondbacks bats haven't been very good to start the year, but he's got a big park shift going against him going from Nationals Park to Chase Field in Arizona. So he's got that going against him. He has looked a lot better the last 2 starts, obviously. But I actually missed his last start, May 5th, against the Dodgers. I'm trying to look at the game log now. It looks like he only went 4 innings. I don't know what the reasoning was behind that, if it was just pitch count, which it doesn't look like. It looks like I don't know. So I don't know what the reasoning was. That might have been actually the rain-delayed game. Yeah, it was. Yeah. That was a rain-delayed game, so no concerns there, but just overall, I don't think he provides you enough upside for his price across the industry because he's still, like on FanDuel, you look at him, he's 8,900. What's his price on DraftKings? 10,200.
Way too much for me.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't think he provides enough upside for his price. And again, he's got a non-favorable park shift going against him tonight.
Yeah, and I think Arizona's offense deserves more credit than it generally gets. So
absolutely, they're look, they haven't been performing that well, but there's power in that lineup, and they're a little bit of a scary lineup. I think more so against lefties. I know, Dan, you had predicted that they were going to rock Cliff Lee. I believe that was you. It might have been Ben, but just take credit for it.
No, yeah, it was me.
All right. But yeah, they can get the pitchers. They're not your Mets. Like, just because they've started off terribly doesn't mean that they have the same offense as the Mets or the Cubs or the Astros. So
yeah,
real
for sure,
quick,
they got some hitters there.
Sure, real quick, Derek, relief pitcher.
Like today, a relief pitcher?
No, for next week. Yeah, man, today, relief pitcher.
I don't know, relief pitcher.
That's a tough one to drop on.
Yeah,
that's something you have to look into.
Listen,
I haven't done any research into a relief pitcher today. I just be pulling a name out of it.
Follow the format. That's the way it is. Dan, relief pitcher.
Just give.
I got nothing for you. We got Ben's.
All right, I'll give you a relief.
Yours. Yeah, David Robertson is who you wrote up.
Yeah, and look, they're the hardest to predict. They really are. It's not easy to predict a relief pitcher.
Can we talk about
the strategy on Draft Street about that too? Because we throw it in our articles if you want to kind of go with the Draft Street strategy if you're going 2 starting pitchers and 1 relief pitcher. And I do want to make it known that that's not your typical strategy that you're going to go with on Draft Street. I mean, what you're typically going to go is 3 pitchers, But if you have a night where a few nights back we had Jose Fernandez and Felix Hernandez on the same night. If they both have very good matchups, both are extremely high priced, then that's a night where you might find yourself rostering a relief pitcher. But on most nights, it's going to be something that you're probably going to want to restrict to your GPP lineups.
Sure. Yeah, and that's a pretty important point right there because it's not saying you have to take one. But K. Cannon asks about Lincecum. Dan?
It's not worth it.
I don't think so either. He's just, the upside is not there anymore. I would attribute it to him not smoking marijuana anymore, but I'm sure there's several other reasons. Derek, are you on Lincecum tonight, or are you fading him just not worth the risk?
Not at all. He's not worth the risk. I mean, if he had a good matchup, I could consider it. I mean, the peripherals are still good, even though, there probably is something else going on with him. But in a bad matchup, there's just no reason to go for it. There's other options. There's no point in going with Lincecum tonight.
Sure. And in his defense, even though I wouldn't touch him, Atlanta has really not done anything recently to, pose as a threatening offense. But they, again, much like Arizona, they have it. It's just when are they going to erupt? So that I wouldn't go anywhere near him. There's plenty of other mid-range options out there that I would be a lot more inclined to take. Let's try the Vegas odds again. So this time with batters. You're looking. There's a lot of games out there with some pretty high over/unders. You have, they've come down actually. They last night they were a lot higher, but you got Texas at Houston at 9, L.A. and Toronto at 9, Detroit and Baltimore at 9, and then New York Mets and the Yankees at 8.5. So Yankees are going to be one of my heaviest targets, and same with the Angels. Dan, who are you looking at in terms of, if you were to stack or just in terms of the highest over/under?
Yeah, the guys that jump out are the teams that jump out to me in the high over/under games. And I know we talked about this a little off air. First one would be the Angels. Burley's been pitching pretty much over his head so far to start this year. Certainly don't expect him to keep that up. And I think the Angels have the second best WOBA against left-handed pitching on the year. So they just match up well against left-handers in general, even though Burley's a bit of a neutral splits guy. But they still match up well. I think I'm gonna do what I can to roster Trout in most of my lineups. But I do like the Angels quite a bit. And then the other team that obviously jumps out would be the Rangers against Peacock.
Yeah, I like both of them. And the Angels, have the highest ISO against lefties and second highest. I'll help Davis out here. Weighted on base average against lefties, and the lowest strikeout rate against lefties, which isn't very good for Burley, who is not really a strikeout artist. Derek, I see. You kind of stayed away from teams that we just talked about in your article. Kind of tell me about where you're going with a lot of your guys, because I know you took a lot from the same team. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little surprised actually when you said the over/under on the New York game was so high. I'm all over the under on that. I mean, Cologne hasn't been that good on the surface this year, but Cologne's still a good pitcher. And Kuroda's a really good pitcher. So I don't know. I'm not too much about Mets or Yankees tonight.
I think you're going to be,
if you're betting, I think definitely bet on the under on that game.
I think you're going to be on an island on that, Derek.
Yeah, it seems like it. Someone tweeted me earlier that they were looking at Yankees, and I don't know. I just think there's better options. There's no reason that to stack against Cologne when there's other guys out there to stack against. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily talking about stacks, but he really has struggled against lefties this season, and I love the park factor here that it's going to benefit the hitters. Teixeira is probably one of my favorite plays on the night, to be honest with you. But so aside from that, talk about some of the guys that were some of the guys in your article. You're looking at. I know you were targeting Norris tonight, right?
I didn't write about Norris, but I think Norris is definitely an option. I think the Oakland lineup is pretty good against John Danks. They have a lot of really good righties in that lineup that I think can get to him, because Danks is really not a very good pitcher. I think Seattle righties look good. I think Cesar Ramos is the worst pitcher going tonight. So even though Seattle doesn't have a whole lot of righties in the lineup, I think yeah, it looks like Corey Hart, Mike Zunino, Stephen Romero, and then a switch hitting Justin Smoke. But I think if you can fit a couple of those guys into your lineup, it's definitely worth it just because they're getting the platoon advantage against the worst pitcher of the day. So anytime you can line that up, I think it's definitely worth looking into. I think Texas, you guys mentioned Texas as a high over-under game. I'm not necessarily on the Houston guys as much because I do think Colby Lewis is a pretty good pitcher. I think there's definitely worse pitchers going tonight, but I think some of the Texas bats could definitely do some damage against Peacock. The park shift there, a lot of people think of, Arlington as like this extreme hitter's park, and like Houston is like, an above average hitter's park. But they're pretty close in lefty versus righty matchups. So I think the Texas lineup matches up really well against Peacock tonight.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And I actually meant targeting against Bud Norris, but I'm glad you mentioned Derek Norris because I think he's actually that's fine because in my opinion, Derek Norris might be my favorite catcher option on the evening. And a lot of that has to do with because he doesn't play every night, his price refuses to inflate on most sites. I mean, I think he's 3,200 on DraftKings, right? Yeah, 3,200 against Danks. You can't. I don't care if it's in Oakland at the Coliseum. It's really hard not to play this guy. 3 home runs over his past 2 nights. Dan, are you on Derek Norris too?
Yeah, especially on DraftKings, like you brought up. That's 3,200 is just a ridiculous price for him over there. I don't think you're going to find. You might not even find another guy in the lineup tonight. That's under that price, other than possibly like Steve Clevenger. So for sure, he's the top option on DraftKings, no doubt. On FanDuel, another catcher option I don't mind tonight would be Iannetta. If you're looking to save, it's only a $300 difference, but if you're looking to save a little money somewhere, I think Iannetta sets up well as well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of him tonight.
I didn't talk about it. Yeah, I didn't talk about any Angels in my article today, but they're definitely on my radar. The park shift there is really favorable, even though I think Burley's a solid pitcher. I mean, that's a super righty stacked lineup with a good park shift, so definitely consider those guys.
Yeah, and I think that I think catcher's a great position tonight, mainly because it isn't stacked. It really is never stacked, but there's a couple clear-cut options that kind of make it easy to make your selection, and I like that. What about McCann? I know, Dan, I know you and Ben and myself have listed him so many times with the great matchups in the Daily Diamond, and it just hasn't come to fruition. Is tonight the night?
It's a good matchup. I mean, as far as getting the short porch, it's a plus matchup for him. I don't mind him, but I don't think he's priced where. Well, I guess 3,100 on FanDuel is not bad, but I think on FanDuel I'd still prefer either Derek Norris or Iannetta. And let's see what he is on DraftKings over here. He's 38 on DraftKings, which puts him, I think, the same price as Iannetta. But yeah, I'd still prefer Norris or Iannetta on him, or than McCann.
I think there's tons of catching options tonight. I don't think there's any reason to risk it against Cologne.
Yeah, I don't particularly like Cologne, and I think you might like a couple more options than I do, Derek. I'm not saying that there aren't a lot of options, but to me there are a couple clear-cut options, and that would be Norris and Iannetta. And for me, I'm going to have trouble coming off of them. I think all of my lineups will have one or the other. We're not paying for high-end options tonight, right? You're looking at no Molina against, even though he's facing a lefty, but Wood's not as bad as people make him out to be. So are you on Molina at all, Derek?
A little bit. I mean, he's an option tonight. Wood's a below-average pitcher. Molina has a platoon advantage. He's playing at home against him. Wood gives up fly balls, but I think there's enough options in the middle and the lower ranges where you don't need to go for him. I think Alex Avila. I think Norris. I think there's a lot of guys. I think Mike Zunino. There's plenty of catchers tonight where you don't need to go big on Molina in kind of a mediocre matchup relative to the rest of the set.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And I think it basically wraps it up for second base. And then, Derek, you had, or for catcher, but at second base you had D. Gordon, and who was your other option at second base today?
Danny Espinosa.
Okay, so
we still
those
don't
are your two
have
top options?
Yeah, 2 top for value. I mean, not top overall, obviously. We still don't have a Washington lineup, it doesn't look like, so I don't know where Espinosa's batting. But I like the way he matches up against Cole Mentor. I like the park shift. D. Gordon is playing at home against a weak pitcher in Tom Kohler. He'll probably, bat at the top of LA's lineup. If he gets on base, there's a solid chance he's going to steal. Salty's not particularly good at throwing out hitters, and there's a pretty good chance he's going to get on base to begin with since Kohler kind of sucks. So that's where I'm looking at second base tonight.
It's a fair analysis. Solarte is one of my guys that reasonably priced, playing well. I like the matchup against Cologne. Dan, who stands out to you at second base?
D. Gordon, I think, is one of the top options. And then to kind of beat the Los Angeles train to death, I like Howie Kendrick batting cleanup.
Yeah, Kendrick's
I love
solid.
Kendrick tonight.
If you really need to punt on DraftKings, you could go for Rocknet Odor from the Rangers. I mean, he's batting ninth, but you're looking at a team that should put up some runs. So hopefully he'll either be the recipient of good RBI opportunities, or he'll get on base and get batted in by Chewer, Andrews, or Beltre.
Yeah, just the name alone makes me want to say Roughnut Odor. God, his last name is Odor. That can't bode well for his fantasy chances.
How do you say his name? Is it Rogned?
I have no idea. What were you typing in? Dave has a story about Mr. Odor.
You talking about Odorizzi?
No, Soccer Dave's got a story for you.
No, I forget what I was trying to call him. I feel like Mr. Wilson right now. But it was like Rogdare, I think, Odin or something like that. I didn't know what his name was, and I couldn't find it in the search. I didn't know that his Odor was his last name, but his first name definitely sounds like the show Vikings. Rogned. That is like that's like a name that you see in Vikings. Anyways.
It was trying to complete your... Okay, I went to baseballreference.com. Rogned Odor.
Okay, so he's trying to avoid the whole odor pronunciation, I see.
Yeah, when Dave was trying to Google search and it brought up... It was one of those things, do you mean Dodgers? I thought he was trying to search for Dodgers because Dave didn't know what the heck he was doing.
It's true.
There's a couple options really at second base. Aside from that, there's nobody really that stands out to me. Derek, I know you already mentioned those. Because you didn't have any honorable mentions in there today, just give the audience a couple other guys if they want to go contrarian or kind of stay away from the guys we've already mentioned if they don't want to pay for D. Gordon or Howie Kendrick.
I think we covered him. I think Kendrick's another good option, and I think Odor is a good punt. So.
Yeah, Dink brings up in chat, too, if you want to go the Tolleson route. He's actually leading off against C.J. Wilson. Okay. So it looks like Reyes is out of the lineup for the day. So Tolleson is certainly a punt option leading off.
And I think this game's going to be pretty high scoring. The over-under's at 9, and I don't see C.J. Wilson faring too well in this one either. But I guess we'll have to find out. Everybody's favorite position is shortstop. Oh, God, it's just a terrible position. I can't stand it on any night. I guess D. Gordon, you have him on multi-eligibility. Dan, who else? Ibar, Espinosa?
I'm with, I think this was Derek's number one guy, and I'm with him tonight, too, would be Jet Lowry. Okay. His price has deflated quite a bit across the industry. Like on DraftKings, you're looking at $3,500. FanDuel, you got $2,900. His ISO is actually the exact same from either side of the plate, but he does have a better WOBA against left-handed pitching. So I think he sets up well, and his price is deflated to the point where I think he's a solid option tonight.
Yeah, I think so too. For some reason, I always stay away from him because he has not been good to me in the past. I believe you also had Peralta on there, Derek, right?
Yep, Peralta runs a pretty far second to Lowry, though. I think Lowry's going to be in all my lineups. I think his matchup is far and away the best of the day for shortstops. Peralta sets up, fairly well against a fly balling below average Wood at home, but I just don't think his price is a little higher than I'd like to see, given his talent level, and I just think Lowry's matchup is better, so that's where I'm going.
So do you go Lowry over D. Gordon on DraftKings at shortstop, if you had to pick?
Lowry over Degor. Yeah.
I would just because of the price
Yeah.
difference. It's a $1,400
would.
price difference.
Yeah.
Huge price difference.
Exactly.
Huge. I mean, the upside isn't the same with Gordon taking off 14 times a game, but Lowry still has potential. He's somebody that. Oh, he doesn't have any stolen bases this year, huh?
No, he's not a big steals guy. He's up against the
No.
lefty anyway, which makes it difficult to.
Sure. I'm just surprised. I mean, 0 is a little surprising, but I guess, yeah, you're not paying for stolen bases there. First base is probably one of my, I think, most nights, one of the most appealing positions. A couple of guys that stood out to me. I already said Mark Teixeira he might be my favorite option at first base tonight. Tell me why I'm wrong, Dan. Or am I wrong?
Teixeira, I think you're wrong.
Go
Oh
ahead.
yeah, way wrong.
I like Chris Davis.
What?
I like Chris Davis quite a bit tonight. He's coming back from the DL. He just started yesterday. And so just because he's coming back from the DL, his price is fairly deflated across the industry. So I think he sets up well against, even though I don't hate Porcello, I think he sets up well against him.
Teixeira's not even in the lineup tonight, it looks like. So,
Oh, really?
yep. So I think Lofty just got saved from making the wrong decision there.
Well, I clearly would have checked the lineup ahead of time, but I appreciate you saving me the work. That's a surprise to me. I would have had him. But fortunately, there's so many good options out there. As Dan, you just mentioned, Chris Davis is 4,100 on DraftKings. It's really difficult not to like him there. What about CJ Cron, Derek? Crone.
Yeah, I think Crone's a solid option tonight. Same with Pujols. As I said, I like Burley, but it is, platoon favorable matchup in a game that could get out of hand. The park factor is really looking good there. Neither made my list today, but they're definitely on my radar, and I couldn't fault anyone for going with either of them. I think some of the other guys I'm looking at today, though, I think Adrian Gonzalez is good against Kohler. I think Prince Fielder is good against Peacock. I think Victor Martinez is really good. There's a favorable park shift going on for him as well against Bud Norris. So I think that's where I'm looking at for first base tonight, probably spending relatively heavy.
Yeah, and it's usually the position to spend heavy on anyway. I think. Did you mention Cabrera?
I didn't mention Cabrera. I don't know. The matchup is okay for Cabrera, but I think given all the other options, I don't think you need to pay up for him.
I'm actually in a full agreement with you on that one. Even though it doesn't matter if he's hot, the matchup is irrelevant. But I guess we'll have to find out. I don't think it's necessarily worth spending on him tonight either.
Oh no, we need Soccer Dave to give us a breaking news sound bit. I don't know if it's gonna happen.
He's trying.
He's too busy in chat.
He's trying. Here it comes. Is it going to be Mark Teixeira's not in the lineup breaking news?
No, it's Jose Fernandez being placed on the disabled list.
Oh.
For reasons unknown at this point, is what I'm seeing on Twitter.
That's really interesting. Well,
His velocity was down last start against the Padres, and he just got shelled.
he did get filled, and he was by far the top option across the board that night. I don't know how much he was owned in most games. I wasn't playing that night, but I can imagine that he took a lot of people down with him.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So did I miss anyone at first base? Did we miss anyone, Dan?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, again, there's a couple guys there that you're going to spend on, and that's really what you're looking at. Third base, third base is another one of my favorite positions. You got the sluggers there. Keep us rolling, Dan. Who do you see at third base that's going to put you in the money tonight?
Oh, real quick, Dan, just so people know, Chris Davis is not available on Draft Street tonight because they already released salaries yesterday before he was.
They're so slow with that.
because they release the salaries and it's a lot of times it's the stats provider. It's not them personally. So if the stats provider still has them on the DL, typically it takes like an extra day with the way that they're.
Which is interesting because he played yesterday.
Right, but they released the salaries before it was announced. So
Understood.
That's how it goes. Anyway, just wanted to make that clear for someone that was looking for him on.
I do believe he's available everywhere else though. So
on Draft Street, is he minimum salary on Elite?
I don't know. I didn't check.
Sometimes that happens.
Dang it! Don't.
With guys coming off.
You better not have just given Dave a min salary.
Oh my God, he is.
Oh, I hate you right now. Oh my gosh.
Oh
well,
man, that made up for my auto pick.
There you go.
Okay, now we're even.
You know how they say the ball never lies. Same thing applies here, man. I get jammed up every time, makes me look bad, and then I end up taking home the money. So
you got Adam Jones and Chris Davis for 16 combined. That's not bad. That's a bargain.
No, yeah, you think?
Except Teixeira, I don't think the Yankees lineup was out, so he's on my team. But that's okay because last time Saltalamacchia auto drafted, I popped in someone else. He took me to the promised land, so we're ready to rock and roll here.
That's what that late swap's for.
You popped in Posey.
Realistically, though, the late swap is going to be used a lot on here, and I do use it all the time. It's perfect. So you can have a bad draft and still come out with something pretty favorable after. Which I'm surprised all sites haven't transitioned into that yet, but I guess it's for the people that don't want to have to sit around their computer for the entire night. But again, Dan, take us to third base.
All right, I'll leave the softballs for Derek. I'll let him get some of the chalky plays. A guy that I just...
Was that an insult?
No, not at all. It's because I really wanted to, and I think that's what you're supposed to do at third base today. I think you're supposed to spend. I think there's not a ton of great options at third, so I think you do want to spend on third base. But if you're looking for someone a little under the radar, Pablo Sandoval. I think he's got a decent matchup today, coming off a 3-hit game. He's 2,600 on FanDuel. I think he's a much better hitter from the left-handed side. So I think if you're wanting to save a little money at third base, which again I don't think is necessarily the right strategy tonight, but if you do want to save a little money, I think he's a decent option.
Okay.
Yep, I think Sandoval is a decent option, but really I think Josh Donaldson is third base today. I think you do whatever you can to get Josh Donaldson into the lineup because...
What a softball pick, man.
It's a softball pick, but it's really, that's what third base is today. Third base is disgusting. Donaldson is the only option, really. I mean, Sandoval's okay. If you have to punt, I mean, Luis Jimenez. But, I mean, Donaldson is just so far and away above anyone else today. I think the opportunity cost of not having Donaldson far outweighs, any other consideration.
Yeah, I would agree. And he's not really that expensive. 9.7 on draft day, 41 on DraftKings. Dan, what is he on Draft Street?
I don't know. I don't have Draft Street up right now.
You don't got it pulled up? All right.
No.
Well, I mean, because he hasn't been that hot lately, so it's really an ideal time to take him, actually. When you look at his game logs, there's been nothing to really keep his salary inflated. So, yeah, I'm all over him tonight too. I think he probably is, other than Sandoval, he probably is the only option. And again, Solarte, second and third base on DraftKings. He's cheap. I don't have a problem with him tonight. And I think with the way he's been playing, I think he can get to Cologne. I don't have a problem. And he's pretty inexpensive. Moving on to the most complex position of every night.
Tommy,
Go ahead.
Tommy asked in chat, you heard of a guy named Beltre Cardi, so I thought I would ask that question.
Yeah. Beltre, I've heard of, believe it or not. I think he's actually a pretty good baseball player. His true platoon split's a little lower than the average righty. He's got Peacock tonight. The park shift isn't, it's a very small downshift for the park, but I don't know. He's an option, but he's not Donaldson tonight. I'm not going Beltre tonight. Donaldson's better.
You in agreement with that, Dan?
I think it's close. I think Donaldson probably is slightly the top option, but I wouldn't argue with anyone that decided to go Beltre.
No, neither would I. And quite frankly, there are no must plays in daily fantasy baseball. So, all right, something just happened to Dan's house.
He gone.
You need a breaking news alert, man. Here he comes. Hold on, Dan. What was that all about?
Sproles was banging on the door. My cat.
You would have thought the warrant team was at your door, man.
Did you hear that?
That was out of control.
There's this little guy right here.
Making a racket. But no, I didn't hear it. Dan, before we move on to outfield, though, would you agree that, I mean, and some people don't agree with this, but would you agree that there are no true must-plays in daily fantasy baseball? Granted, yeah, there's the best plays and they're the top plays, but when you look at it in comparison to basketball, there really is a pretty vast difference between must-play category.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's nothing close to basketball. Basketball is so... A lot of value derives on injury in basketball, which you don't get nearly as much in baseball. So if you have a guy, especially for like the Chicago Bulls or something like that, that you know as long as they're going to get into the starting lineup, they're going to play 40 minutes, then there's your value, there's your must-play. And you certainly don't have anything like that in baseball.
Right, exactly. You have 4 at-bats, if that. So... outfield is actually not looking too bad tonight, and I think it's concentrated with like 3 different teams where I like their entire outfield almost. But Derek, tell us why some of the outfielders in your column today were standing out to you more than maybe the Angels.
Yeah, well, I mean, Trout's obviously the top option tonight.
Yeah,
I'm not
and
gonna.
you didn't even need to list him really. If you don't know Trout against left-handers, I'm with you there. So.
Yeah, I mean, Trout's the top option. If you have the money for him, put him in your lineup. He's got a good matchup. But he was kind of a boring pick, so I didn't put him in there. I put Corey Hart number 1. He's at home against Cesar Ramos. I don't like Ramos. He's the worst pitcher going today. Hart's got the platoon advantage. He's priced pretty softly. I think he's got a great matchup there. I like Cespedes. I mean, I've hit on a few A's already, Donaldson and Lowry, and Cespedes just kind of follows that trend. Danks is not a good pitcher this year. Even though he pitches in U.S. Cellular, for his home park, and he's in Oakland today, I mean, that still doesn't change that his peripherals are terrible. Plus, U.S. Cellular actually boosts strikeout rate. So, he's going to lose a little of that. I think Cespedes is really good today. I think Ethier and Crawford against Kohler are both good. I think Chu against Peacock is good. I think there's tons of outfield options today.
Yeah, me too. Tell us real quick why U.S. Cellular Field boosts strikeout.
Why it does?
Yeah.
I'm actually not sure why in particular U.S. Cellular does, but in general, parks that boost strikeouts tend to be parks that either they're on the water, like Seattle boosts strikeouts, Miami boosts strikeouts, or they have like narrow foul ground so that more balls go into the stands and then more chances for strikeouts to happen. U.S. Cellular, let me pull them up, but I'm not sure exactly why that park in particular boosts strikeouts.
Sure, and the reason I asked is because the White Sox actually have a significantly lower walk rate on the road, so wasn't sure there was a correlation there between the two. Dan, who did he not touch on that you're targeting tonight in the outfield?
If you're looking for some cheap options, they're coming from the same teams that you're wanting to target. A cheap leadoff option for the Athletics would be Craig Gentry. He's cheap across the industry. Some of those Texas bats that are the cheaper, I mean, you're going to see a lot of people on Chu tonight. I think Borland's a pretty decent option, as well as Leonis Martin. Other than that, I think those are your main cheap options. I've heard a lot of talk about Ellsbury. I don't mind him tonight. But I agree with you guys and the fact that I think Trout is far and away the top option tonight. I think if it's between forcing, you're going to have a lot of people that actually try to put Chu in their lineup before Trout, and I think you're incorrect in doing so. So I think you start with Trout, and then you kind of fill in with some of the cheaper Texas outfield bats, and I'm for going Chu tonight, but that's probably going to be my regret for the night.
Yeah, I have to fade Chu tonight because I'll be playing Trout, and on DraftKings, they're both very high priced. Trout has a plus 500 weighted on base average against lefties, and Burley's outperformed his true talent level, in my opinion, this year. So I don't think there's a way. Honestly, I think you should, much like what Derek said with Donaldson, I think you've got to find a way to get Trout in your lineup. I think it could come back to bite you. And like I said earlier, there's no must plays, but he's as close as it comes to a must play tonight. So
yeah, I just to clarify, I misspoke on U.S. Cellular. It does not boost strikeouts. I don't know why I was thinking that it does.
Okay. Well, thank you for the clarification, sir.
It would not be the first
good play today.
It would not be the first time
that
someone has tried to BS on the show and then correct themselves later. That's like kind of the name of the game: is spit something out, and then if someone calls you out, then you have to kind of research it. If not, then just go with it.
Yeah, I guess you didn't expect me to ask for an explanation, huh? I promise that was there was no ill intentions there, man. I was just curious myself.
No, because I mean, a lot of people don't realize that parks boost strikeouts, and a lot of times they do.
Well, that's why I was looking for some insight.
Yeah, a good park will boost strikeouts by as much as 10%. Like San Diego's one, Seattle's one, the old Miami Park was one. I also misspoke on that. The new one with the dome does not.
So what, the Coliseum probably reduces because of the foul ball territory?
Let me take a look. Yeah, I have the Coliseum down 2% loss in strikeouts.
Okay.
Well, speaking of strikeouts, not really, has nothing to do with it. Guaranteed the dong tonight.
that was a seamless transition.
The best segue we've ever had.
I thought so too. See, I get creative around here. Who's guaranteed the dong, Danny?
We get a guaranteed and under the radar, right?
Yeah.
Sure do.
My guarantee is I'm going to take the easy road out and go Mike Trout.
No, you're not going Trout.
I am. I already did. I am.
Okay. All right.
That's my guaranteed. I get a...
Is he your under the radar dong?
Under the radar, I'm going Mitch Moreland.
Okay. All right. That's an interesting one. Well, I'm not sure. Did we talk about him today?
I threw his name out there. I think I'll be ending up on, him more than I will Chu, just because I'm getting Trout into my lineup first.
Yeah, I like the Moreland call. I think he's a good play today.
That's fair.
Guaranteed dong though. I'm trying to find a non-obvious pick.
You can pick. There's nothing wrong with picking an obvious pick.
I'll do Corey Hart. Non-obvious guaranteed dong tonight.
Okay. Who's your obvious? You can't say Trout.
Yeah, non-Trout division.
Yeah, thank you.
Non-Trout division. Let's go Donaldson.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think he's just as up there as Trout tonight. By the way, Dan, Carlos Beltran is 5,000 on Elite. He's another one kind of tough to. There's a lot of minimum salary guys on here.
Did you take him against me?
What'd you say?
Are you taking him against me?
Yeah, I mean, why not? I got to, because I'm gonna have to drop Teixeira. So so basically, I'll need some salary cap relief if I want to, get a little fancy. But yeah, my guaranteed the dong will be Mike Trout, and I think under the radar is probably Josh Donaldson. So
Josh Donaldson under the radar?
Relax, man. I'm joking. Cool your jets, fellas. It was just
unbelievable.
That is not a joke.
That was not.
Well, what are you doing?
Joke about that.
You doing a research project for your friend?
I believe it was certainly a joke, David. Anyway, Derek Norris is going to be my under the radar, and I think guaranteed. I would have said Teixeira, but I think we'll have to go with you know what, Beltran tonight. How about good old Carlos? Yep, that's what I'm going with. I really, for those of you watching, I don't think he's guaranteed at all, but I do kind of like him, and he was minimum salary on Elite, so I'm just gonna, wish for it. But before we get out of here, I'm going to regret this. Probably going to be Carlos Beltran, but Dan, who are you going to regret tonight? And remember, you can either regret somebody you're playing or regret somebody that you're fading, and both if you feel up to it.
I'm going to regret fading Chu. And I'm going to regret rostering Kobe Lewis as my second pitcher on DraftKings.
That's a good one. You might regret that.
Yeah.
I actually have Lions in as my second pitcher on DraftKings, so I probably regret that too. What about you, Derek?
I mean, everyone just seems to be on Yankees, and I'm completely fading Yankees tonight. So, I mean, I guess, let's say I'm going to regret fading Yankees, although I'm not convinced that I am going to regret it, so I don't know.
The best.
That was an epic regret, but not regret.
Who are you going to regret playing, Derek? Anybody, or are you just that good?
Well, I don't like to brag. I mean, I'm not that good. No.
Don't you dare use the term heater. Whatever you do, don't use the term heater.
I think I could see regretting Colby Lewis or Tyler Lyons if I use them as my second starter tonight. I think both have. You know what? Let's say I'm going to regret Gavin Floyd because there's a decent chance that I'm going to actually play him as a second or third starter tonight, and there's definitely blow-up risk there. So.
Okay. And I think with my regret who I'm going to play, just to kind of go along with what Derek was saying, I might regret playing more Yankees than I should. And who I'm going to regret not playing is probably... This sounds crazy, but Jesse Chavez, I think I'm going to regret not playing him. I think he could have a really solid outing tonight. But I don't think I'll be playing him. He's pretty expensive on DraftKings. He's not someone that I'm looking at. In the chat, Derek, we got Lyons or Lewis?
It's so close. Whoever's cheaper. Wherever you're playing, whoever's cheaper.
That doesn't work.
Yeah,
that doesn't work.
That doesn't work.
That's a good answer.
That's an answer.
Yeah, I know, but I wanted to.
All right. I'll give you. I'll give you Lions.
Lions?
Okay. Yeah, Lions.
I think I would go the same way. All right, Dan, Puig or Chu? That's a pretty easy one, I think.
It's got to be Chu, I think.
Yeah, Derek, you agree?
Sure. Absolutely.
Papa Cub wants to know Norris or McCann. That's pretty easy too, I think.
Yeah, it's Norris. I mean, he's going to be cheaper. He's got a better matchup. I mean, raw value McCann, but
yeah, I think it depends on where you're playing. I can see the argument for McCann on FanDuel where he's actually $100 cheaper, but like on DraftKings, it's definitely Norris for me.
Sure, I like both of them tonight, but I think Norris has the distinct advantage, especially in a similar price range. Dan, Altuve or Espinoza?
I know Derek's answer on this. I don't know if I'm in line with it. Derek, you answer.
It's another one where raw value it's Altuve, but I don't want to pay that for him usually. So I think Espinoza. I mean, from what I saw was cheaper enough where I think Espinoza is the guy I would rather have in my lineup and then put the extra money elsewhere.
All right, two more because I think this is a really good one. Kendrick or Gordon? Dan.
I'm Kendrick.
Derek?
It's close. I'll go Gordon, but I really couldn't begrudge anyone who goes Kendrick.
Okay. Tommy G or Favre?
I'm going to pass.
I'm going to say Tommy G.
Really?
Yeah, because
What's your reasoning?
Because I want to give him all the positive mojo for tonight. I've been joking with him just like he's been joking with me about bucket list $2 games. So there's been a little bit, just like kind of how best friends do with each other.
Oh, that's cute.
You just called Tommy G your best friend.
Yeah, well,
that's cute.
He is. But they always go back and forth. But I feel like Tommy needs my support tonight, so I'm gonna go Tommy G because honestly, I wanted to see it go 7 games, but I didn't see it going 7 games. I just think that Tommy has the momentum going into tonight.
What's it at right now, Dave?
It's at 3-3.
Ooh.
Yeah, so tonight is the night. And the thing is that Brett Favre sometimes, like last night, he had the best score in all of Draft Street. He didn't play any qualifiers, but he had the best score in Draft Street. He said that he did it on the toilet at Mother's Day brunch, which is one of the most epic tweets, I guess. He is a great follow on Twitter. Don't expect him to follow you back because he literally doesn't follow anyone back. But he is very entertaining. I said it the other day. I wanted more like trash talk. That's why I wanted to see it go 7 games. He hasn't he responds once a day to Tommy. So tonight, I just want to see a good close game with Tommy sweating it out and winning at the end. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I think everyone's rooting for Tommy. Well, I know I am. Tommy's a decent fella. He has a funny feeling that him and Favre are going to end up being friends. That's cute.
We got a tweet of the week resubmission.
You can't say it. You got to wait. You got to wait till Wednesday for tweet of the week.
Yeah, we got to wait for Wednesday. The Young Kaiser tweet of the week, but Dink just posted it if you want to read it.
There's been a few. I want to pull up the Fantasy Elite game that we have going on between Tuttle and Laffy. Obviously, Dave got the 2 minimum salary guys, even with the auto pick of Adam Jones, so he has to be feeling good about Chris Davis and Beltran. I also noticed that Grant said in the chat or on Twitter that there's a 525 available on Elite. But if you go Chris Davis and Beltran, obviously Chris Davis is probably the play. Beltran number 2. But if you go both of them, you can get probably whoever you want.
Yeah, and Ionetta for 8-7 is another one. There's some really good. Howie Kendrick for 10, and Dan got some Bautista for 11-7. There's a lot of inexpensive, really good plays out there tonight.
Yeah, I would agree. So that slate, though, it'll be interesting. Sometimes with these slates, you've got basically people who think like you want to post a high dollar game because no one has like they may not notice Chris Davis or Beltran. I say go for it tonight. Roll the dice and see if anyone will pick up your game that doesn't know about those guys.
So Dave's gonna take that 525 out there.
Well, maybe not the 525.
Oh, come on! You can't.
I might post.
You can't give that advice, but
I might post a $23 game. What's it called? The Strasburg?
Oh, the 525 is an NBA, anyways.
Oh, yeah.
You know, in all fairness, though, Dan, if Chris Davis does hit 3 homers tonight, I'm taking 100%. So.
Yeah. So
yeah, I didn't hear you at all, but okay.
He's got that.
Sounds good.
He's got that R2D2 connection again tonight. So you made it close to an hour, Laufey.
Yeah, I think it's because my laptop is so far away from my modem, and I really don't feel like using it downstairs. But yeah, that's my reasoning, man. If you guys want to send me one, I'm more than welcome to give you my address. More than happy to. So
yeah, we'll talk. We need to start. We'll start like a Kickstarter fund or Indiegogo fund for you and Napsterman's internet connection, and also to get Derek a fancy new computer. He loves that deal. Anyways, thanks for joining us, guys, on the show, and thanks to Fantasy Elite for sponsoring the show. Make sure you're tuned in tomorrow, 5 Eastern. We will have Laufey gone. We will have Dink,
He gone.
So close too.
Dink, Derek, and Davis, and me, Dave, on the
That's gonna be a fun show.
on the show tomorrow. It will be fun. So we'll have to come up with some topics that are controversial because we haven't had any sort of.
Oh, you don't have to come up with topics.
No, there's
It'll
no
write
really
itself.
controversy between Derek and Drew, or Derek or Ben and Drew. You know, all the touts. So that will happen. Tommy says he loves a set of double D's, and this song actually goes out to Tommy tonight. So we'll end the show with this. Join us tomorrow, 5 Eastern. Thanks to Dan, Dave, and Derek for joining us on today's show. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Later, fellas.
Tuttle, are you gonna make a shot?
Again. Oh!
We'll say it went in.
And that didn't go in?
It looked like it did.
Ah.
Oh, there. That's a good one.